Hey everybody, it's Angie the Coder, and today I'm going to do a short video on some Codify tips that I have for you. So, here we go. So, as I said, we're going to go into my version of Codify. So I'm in my AAPC account here, so you just click Software and Codify. And this is my version of it. There are multiple versions of Codify. The one I am is, I think, the Pro fee coder version. It's $44 a month. Let's see, I'll show you. Here are the options. So you can get one for $10 a month, and that basically just lets you look up CPT codes, HCPCS codes, and ICD-10 codes. It does lay terms. It does a couple of other things. This is not a bad option for $10 a month. Basic Coder does all of this, plus it does the NCCI edits and the NCD, LCD lookups and the crosswalks in addition to that. And then the one I have includes all of that plus it has a real-time claim scrubber, and it also has some other stuff like the Revenue Cycle Insider Access. It has the Specialty Survivor Guides, which you can get. I'll show you those in another video. You can get really good CEUs from this. Maybe enough CEUs for the whole year, but it's fantastic. And then there's 10 optional add-ons. So this is the one I currently do, is this Pro Fee Coder one. But these two are both really good. As a matter of fact, if I had to drop back to this one, I could still be very satisfied. I do like the fact that it has the CMS 1500 real-time scrubber, and I do like the fact that I can get those survival guides because I get my CEUs from the survival guides a lot of the time. Anyway, so I promise you I'm not sponsored by Codify. I actually pay for this out of my pocket, and I totally use this every day, and I love this software. So let's just hop on into my version. Oops, there we go. So the one thing I wanted to show you today is the coding indexes. Some people are not aware that you can use these coding indexes to make Codify work just like your code book. So for example, for those of you that were taught to do ICD-10 coding old school like me, I got my training back in 1994, the HIM instructors would tell you must look the code up in the alphabetical index before you look it up in the tabular. And so when I first started using Codify, I kind of struggled with that. I'm like, I was still wanting to grab my book a lot and look things up in the alphabetical index until I discovered this. It took me a while. And so let me just demonstrate. So if you go to ICD-10 Index of Diseases and Injuries, this can be just like looking up a disease in your alphabetical index in your ICD-10 book. So if you click on that, you can go in here and you can type your search, or you can look by, you can totally look by alphabet. So say I want to look up diabetes. Say I want to try to find diabetes complicated by chronic kidney disease. So I have diabetes, and this right here, this is just like your alphabetical index in your book, where it'll tell you what the unlisted code is first, and then you can get more information, and you push these little plus buttons to get like diabetes with. And so in my case, I want to code diabetes with chronic kidney disease. So follow it down, diabetes with chronic kidney disease, and there's your code. When you click on your code, it takes you to the tabular. So literally, you don't have to flip to the tabular like you do in your book. You literally click the code and it takes you there. And you have all your basic information that you need here as well. So it'll tell you first there's the code. I was trying to zoom out so you guys could see this better, but I haven't been able to zoom out in here. I'm on my Mac, and I need to learn some commands for zoom out, don't I? Anyway, so first of all, you have your code up here, and then you go down and it gives you the description of the code. Let's get back up here. Type 2 diabetes with diabetic chronic kidney disease, and then it's going to tell you you need to also use one of these codes for the actual chronic kidney disease. So I'm going to show you some other stuff in here, and then we're going to click one of these, and I'll show you where it goes, what happens from there. But you also have all your notes. You have it tells you what it includes, and then it'll give you all your excludes, like excludes one note. So you would not use this if the patient had gestational diabetes. So it's telling you excludes one cannot, that you would not bill that with gestational diabetes. So it gives you your excludes notes. If there's an excludes two, that would be there. And then your use additional codes. Like for instance, say my patient is on insulin, it would also say, don't forget, use additional code for the insulin, just like in your code book, except that what's so fantastic is you can click these little green ICD-10 codes, and it takes you directly to that code. So down here, you'll have additional information. The lay term will give you a description of the condition. Sometimes you'll see where there's not a lay term, but if you click clinical condition, it'll give you information. One of the things you may want to know about this clinical condition, as you know, we don't code signs and symptoms of a definitive code, right? So say the patient came in, they have diabetes, but they're also tired, and they have some excessive thirst. Here your symptoms are listed here. So you're like, nope, I can only bill the diabetes because these are symptoms. So it also helps you catch symptoms that your doctor may document in their assessment and plan that you don't need to pick up in your coding because it's a symptom of the disease. So that's a good thing. There are some crosswalks to the old ICD-10 codes, which we don't need. I think they'll do crosswalks to CPT codes, which that ought to be awfully big for this category. And then HCPCS, as well as the HCC coding for that. We won't go into detail on that today, but we absolutely can do videos on that in the future if you guys are interested in kind of what would I do with some of these buttons. And I'll tell you right off the bat, for diabetes, your insulin codes, these are your, these are the supply codes, but you'll also have the drug codes in here as well, I believe. So I haven't played with that very much. So let me get my mouse going back in the right direction. Okay. And then the HCC code, it'll tell you for the different versions of HCC what the HCC code is. Like I said, that's not my area of expertise. I've done some HCC coding, but there are a lot better experts on that out there than me. So do not look to me for good HCC information right now. Now, you also have your coding alerts here. These are the coding alerts that come with Codify, and I believe you can click on these, and they take you to, like this one I think takes you to, we can look at it in a little bit. Maybe in another video I'll go through these coding alerts. CMS tells you if CMS has anything on this. In the AHA coding clinic, you see I don't have access to it. Unlike your book, the Codify, if you don't have the AHA coding clinic module add-on, which is quite pricey, and it should be, it's a very expensive tool. If you go through the AHA to get it, it's expensive. So, AAPC is going to have to pass that cost on to you. But unlike your book, which will give you the references, it just won't give you the information. It'll just tell you that it was, say, in the coding clinic for 2001 or whatever, first quarter 2001. Your book will tell you that stuff, but this will not. So that is one thing I wish the AAPC would do is, and maybe it's just very time consuming for them, but list the actual references for the AHA, even if you don't have the module or the add-on, so that you can, decide whether you feel like you might need that add-on or not. But anyway, I digress. What we're going to do here, so my patient has, say I'm coding a chart, my patient has diabetes with chronic kidney disease. The doctor has documented that it's stage 1, or let's just say stage 4. So what I can do is I can click on this range right here, and it takes me to the actual codes and see it starts with stage 1, and well, my doctor said it was stage 4, so I'm just going to go down here and find stage 4. And if I want more information on stage 4, I can actually click this button right here. Hold on. Click, yeah. And it'll take you to in 18.4, it'll tell you the description of the code, and it'll also remind you to use additional code if there's other stuff going on. Is this patient, are they kidney transplant status? Do they have hypertension as well as chronic kidney? And then and so when you get to this code, you'll be like, wait a minute, didn't I see hypertension is the first diagnosis in the A&P? I coded that as I-10, but it looks like I can actually code that a different way. So then you would click there and go to the hypertensive codes and figure out which one is appropriate for your particular patient. So as you can see, not only does this allow you to do the alphabetical index and then tabular, just like you do in your book, it also gives you the hyperlink. So it's not, you don't have to go look it up again. So it's not like you go into the alphabetical index. I'll demonstrate. So it's not like you go here and it says, oh, that would be E1122, and you have to go up here and type in E1122 to get to it. Literally, you just click a button and it takes you where you need to go. So there's a manual way, which I don't recommend, or you just click the link and go where you're supposed to go. So I hope this helps you guys, if especially those of you that have Codify, if you already have it and you feel like I love it, but I still find myself constantly reaching for my book. That's not a bad thing. I have my book on my desk, but the font is so tiny and it's so light gray. For me, this is so much more visually appealing for me, and it's faster. You may be faster with your book, but it might be worth it to try them both and see which one works best for you. But I did want to let you know that this is a tool that's built into Codify that you may absolutely love. Do what you will with it. This is your Codify coding tip. As I think of more coding tips for Codify, I will pass those along to you. I know a lot of you guys might be using different encoders, and like I said, I'm not trying to sell this. I don't make a penny off of Codify. Like I said, I even pay for my own software, but I like it. And if you ever find yourself needing to purchase your own software, this may be a very reasonable and extremely robust version of an encoder that you could use if you had to pay for it by yourself. I've worked for companies that actually paid for Codify subscriptions, and I was super grateful for that because like I said, I still love the product. So whether I'm paying for it or someone else is paying for it, I feel like I get my money's worth, or they get their money's worth when I use this software. And so you will see me do more tips for Codify, just because as I find things in here that make my life easier, I like to pass them on. So if you guys have any tips on Codify, please put that in the comments. We can share that information. Everybody may want to hear what your tip is, or if you have ideas for other videos on Codify or any coding topic that if I'm not an expert at it, I'm not going to do a video on it. But if it's something I know about, then I'm absolutely be happy to do a video. If you can think of other things that you want to learn about. But anyway, so this has been your Codify tip of the week. I don't know that there's going to be one every week, but at least this week there's a Codify tip. So hope it helps, and I look forward to hearing reading your comments and hearing from you guys. And like I said, if there's any videos you'd like to see in the future, any questions that you have, I'll do my best to answer those. Just put them in the comments below. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week. See you later. Thanks for watching.